welcome back to News Junkies. I'm Bill DeFoi. Joining me this time is Richard, Aydlette, and Brian Wiggins, and they are with SolRay, and we're going to be talking about solar energy. And gentlemen, good to have both of you with us. I'm going to start with you, Brian. Solar energy, tell us a little bit about the advantages.
Okay, the advantages of going solar are, one, it's clean energy, it's powered by the sun. Two, it's a power plant that's on your house, basically meaning that it's your own investment if you would look at it that way. The solar panel powers energy from the sun, which then gives your house power, and any excess energy would go back to the grid. That's some of the advantages of going solar.
Now, when you say it goes back to the grid, can you give us a more of a definition as to what the grid is all about?
Yes, absolutely. So here in Ventura, there's the energy company out here, I believe, is SoCal Edison. And there's three types of systems to kind of backtrack. There's grid tied, which would be your system is tied to the grid. There's grid tied with the battery backup. And then there's off the grid systems. But I think we should focus more on the grid tied systems, which is kind of what everybody's doing. And when you're powering a system that's tied to the grid, any excess energy would be fed back to the grid, which is the electric company.
Okay. Now, Richard, what is your involvement with solar energy, and how do you fit into this dynamic?
Okay, what I do is I meet with potential customers and I explain to them the benefits, as Brian mentioned, the benefits of going solar and why solar makes sense. A lot of people have misconceptions about the solar industry, but I'll meet with them and answer all the questions, very low pressure, but get to know them and show them how it can help them.
Maybe you can describe for us some of the misconceptions that customers may have.
Many people say, I can't afford it. They say, well, let me, give me 6 months so I can save some money. But 9 times out of 10, the customers put nothing down. In fact, there's no money down in most cases. Another thing people say sometimes is my credit's horrible. But there's programs out there where you can qualify for solar with no money out of pocket, even with bad credit.
So let me ask you this, Brian. We have companies like SoCal Edison out there that have been furnishing electricity, and for a price, obviously, for many, many years. Why should people now convert over to solar? Is it a renewable energy? Is it more cost effective? What are some of the distinct advantages, if you would, about going to solar?
Okay, absolutely. That's a really good question. And to answer this question is, if you were to do a study, and it's free public knowledge, you go to, let's say, SoCal Edison, you look at their rates. For the last 10 years, they've gone up 20%. And what I mean by rates is every tier, if you look at your electric bill, there's a tier, and let's say tier 1 is right now about 19 cents. Tier 2 is about 22 cents, give or take. Tier 3 is 28 cents, and we've seen tier 4 almost at 31 cents. Basically, if you look at that, we can give you solar, if you look at it in kilowatt, at 14 cents to 19 cents per watt, if that's how you were to look at it, which would be a cheaper power.
Well, now, you've mentioned tiers. What defines a tier?
Okay. What defines a tier is how much energy you're using. If you use so many watts in one day, then it'll get ranked up to another tier, or monthly. Most people are at 3 and 4 tiers. And if you go solar, then it takes you out of the tiers 100% because you still are tied to the electrical grid, if that answers the question.
Well, that would definitely answer the question. Now, I know a lot of solar companies will lease the equipment. Some will let you buy it outright. What is the advantages to buying it outright over leasing, and vice versa? What is the advantage to leasing the equipment as opposed to buying the equipment?
Absolutely, good question. Right now, most people in California are doing the lease, or what we offer is a power purchase agreement, which is a little better than a lease. That is my opinion, but it's a lease with the option to purchase. And what that means is the investor will buy the solar system for you, put it on your roof, and charge you a set kilowatt hour, set kilowatt rate, which is cheaper than the electric company. Then you have the option to purchase, which means you own the system and you get a 30% tax credit off the total cost of the system.
Okay, very good. Fair enough. In going and talking with your clients, Richard, what do you recommend for them to do, or do you do this on a case-by-case basis?
Each customer is handled on a case-by-case basis. People have very low bills at times and very high bills at other times. Some can take advantage of the 30% tax credit, and some cannot. And it really depends on the customer's situation. So every case is handled on on a one-to-one basis.
So what could you describe for me then what would be an optimum scenario for somebody that could take advantage of that tax credit?
Yeah, someone who, of course, pays taxes. If you're working a job like most of us are, we're working a job, collecting a paycheck, and we're paying Uncle Sam. I mean, he wants his money. There's no way around that. But at the end of the year, we may have paid in $10,000, for example, towards our federal income tax. And with a credit at a 30% tax credit, that means that 30% of the cost of the system will be credited back to you as a tax credit. So you can claim that on your taxes. Say if you paid in $10,000 this year and you have an $8,000 tax credit, well, guess what? You're going to get a lot of money back on your taxes. That $8,000 is a tax credit that you will benefit from. And if you're self-employed and you don't pay high taxes, or you're maybe retired and you have a low tax rate, then it may not be beneficial for you to take advantage of that.
Well, now with the tax credit, it's my understanding that would lower the tax liability, not necessarily get you more back, but may lower the tax liability, and maybe in the long run may increase the amount due. Is that my interpretation correct, or am I wrong?
No, it will never increase the amount of taxes due. As I said, it's a tax credit, and the tax credit is, for instance, if I owed $10,000 and I paid in $10,000, when it comes tax time, then I won't get anything back. But if I claim a $8,000 tax credit, as I mentioned, I'll get $8,000 back versus nothing, which is what I would have gotten back had I not taken advantage of the tax credit.
Okay, very good. Now, Brian, people do sell homes.
Yep.
Does having a solar installation on a home increase the value of that house, and does it add to maybe the sale price of that home down the road?
Yes, absolutely it does. The American Association study, all of the solar industry's proposals are sent to them, and for every dollar you save in electrical use annually, is $20 added to value in your home. So if you saved $1,000, that's $20,000 that the value of your home is raised, and depending on the situation, that could always be 9 times out of 10, it's always more than you actually paid for your system if you purchased it. Yeah.
Now, the other question comes to mind with solar installations. Is it aesthetically pleasing to the eyes nowadays? I remember when solar first started going in, that it wasn't that pretty to look at, but have there been improvements?
Absolutely. Before it almost looked like a spaceship landed on your house. Now it's on the roof, but actually even today, we can put it on canopies, aluminum shade covers. I mean, you can really get fancy with solar, even like a sunroom where the panels are see-through. So to answer your question, absolutely. You can make it very aesthetically pleasing to the eye.
Very good. So, Richard, do you have anything that you'd like to add to our conversation before we wrap up?
Most people think that it's just too far out there, is what I see a lot of times. As I mentioned, the misconceptions: I can't afford it, I don't have the cash flow right now, and I'm finding that when people say that, I offer to come out and show them. Let me show you scenarios. Let me show you what we've done with other customers and how they've benefited, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes off. Wow, I never understood it that way. I appreciate the time that you sat down with me and explained it.
So typically per month, how much would it cost for a person to pay out for solar energy as contrasted with paying somebody like SoCal Edison?
A good average that we've seen is about a 30% savings. And when I say 30% savings, that's the cost of the system that you're now purchasing, whether it's a PPA or a lease or even a traditional loan situation. You will pay approximately 30% less than what you're paying for your utility bills now.
Which could add up to some serious do-re-mi.
Oh, absolutely. And another great thing about that payment is that payment's going to be fixed. And as we know, utility rates aren't going up or aren't coming down. They're going up. So when we sell a system and the customer borrows the money, his payment will be set for 20 years, perhaps, if that's the term. And in 20 years, we know that the rates are going to keep climbing and keep climbing. So it not only gives you a steady monthly payment that won't go up in the summer versus winter, and with people being on a fixed income, it does matter sometimes when they get a $500 electric bill. So it not only keeps your bill level throughout the month or the years, but throughout the term. And of course, once the term of the loan is paid off, then the system it belongs to the customer.
Well, gentlemen, we are out of time. Brian, very quickly, if people wanted more information about how to get in touch with Solray, how can they go about doing it? I know you have a local agent in the Ventura County area.
Yes, we have a local energy consultant out here. Her name is Gloria, and her number will be on the bottom of the screen as I think so. Okay. And then you can visit our website, www.solraywest.com, for more information.
All right. Well, I do have that number in front of me. That's 805-212-6955. That's 805-212-6955. I'm Bill DeFoi. I want to thank Brian and Richard for joining us. Stay with us for more News Junkies right here, a production of the Heritage Media Group.